Hey guys, and welcome to Of Those Below. In this series, I will be interviewing people who have amazing stories to tell. I hope you find them encouraging and inspiring. Here we go. Hey Jessica,
Hey, Danny, long time no see.
long time no see. When's the last time we saw each other?
When did you leave?
That's right. I think it was right before. Were you guys about to go to New York?
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, we've talked since then,
That's true. That's true.
Um, but it was definitely pre-New York trip, which happened around Christmas time.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I left around Thanksgiving. So you guys were going to Austin. It was right before your Austin trip, I
Oh,
think.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you?
I'm doing good. Today was a long work day, but overall, I am doing really good. I think I'm the best I have been health-wise.
Good.
You know, mental health is rocky, but
Sure.
working through it.
That's
I
right.
think COVID times have been interesting. Everything's changed. So yeah, just working through everything.
Yeah,
Can't
for
complain
sure.
really. I'm
Good.
doing well.
Good. Good. Do you have any future travel plans? I know you love to travel.
I actually just took a spontaneous Austin trip yesterday.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was lots of fun. Yeah. Um, crazy jet and I think that's why I'm more tired today,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I jumped into like a training session when I got very little sleep. I was go yesterday. Um, Definitely a lot of outdoor activities because it's Austin.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I know several things are going to be happening. I want to go to Ciudad Mexico,
Mm.
Mexico City, because I haven't experienced it as an adult, and
Oh.
it's a different vibe, you know.
Yeah. Well, we just got back from there. I mean, as you know, you were so sweet to take care of our dogs, and you were such a blessing to our family. And I don't think they appreciate you enough, but um, that's my own opinion. I hope they compensated you. But anyway, we just got back from Mexico City for a funeral from a funeral, and it was just like obviously spontaneous a funeral. But when I was there, I was walking down Reforma, which is like downtown, like the kind of like the political area.
Hmm.
And it's like really clean, really well kept. And I was just walking around and I'm like, dude, my roots are here. Like I'm from here. My mom was born here. And I'm watching the people and the vendors. I'm eating the food. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm Mexican. And I'm proud
You
to be
felt
Mexican. Yeah, I,
that like connection
I felt the
to,
pride.
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And I was just like, I really like it here, like I know there's some like, bad parts to Mexico, whatever, but like it was just like this moment of like, I want to know more about my culture. And so, yeah, it's, yeah, I don't know where you'll go in the Ciudad de Mexico, but I hope you make it out to downtown.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure. And just do some exploring, You know how I am. I'm very spontaneous. Go with the flow. Things, you never know who you're going to run into. You never know what's going to come up, what event's happening. I'm pretty flexible, but I think anywhere I travel, there's it's always a good time when you try to connect with the locals,
totally.
and they can show you where the cool stuff is.
Heck yeah, yeah. And I like when I travel, food's most important. So I'm always
Oh,
asking
of
like
course.
where the food is. Well, that's awesome. Well, safe travels to you whenever you go. It's really exciting.
Thanks.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your evening with me today. I really can't wait to hear your story, and whoever's going to listen to this. But what I want to ask you first is actually about your Enneagram. Do you know what number you are?
I do. After much checking to double check, I know which one I am. I am a three wing two.
Wow. Okay. Three wing two. So on the threes, they're labeled as the achiever. They're success oriented, adaptable, excelling. Would you say that those are pretty accurate adjectives for you?
I think so.
I agree. I agree. Well, good. I'm glad that it wasn't a wrong personality test. So I know being labeled as a number or a set of words isn't always give you a little more of like how unique you are. So I actually want to ask you a couple more questions. These are meant to be fun,
Okay,
so
cool.
that whoever watches this gets to know you just a little better. So, Let me ask, out of these three things, which one can you like associate with more, or that you were involved in? Did you ever watch the show Pretty Little Liars? Have you ever read the book The Hunger Games or Twilight? Any of those can you
All of the
associate?
above.
Okay, this is going to be really fun then. All right. So, in Pretty Little Liars, who would you
Okay.
say you were the most like out of those four girls?
Oh gosh.
So there's Aria,
Most like, right?
Emily, Hannah, and Spencer.
Who was I most like not in love with, right? Like who was I
No, no,
most
yeah, yeah,
like?
yeah. I mean, we all know it's Spencer
Of
Hastings.
course. Spencer Hastings. I most like. Man, I don't know. When I was that age, I didn't know who I was. I don't know which one of the girls I identified with. Um, I don't know. I guess I was a little nerd. So in that case, like with very much related with Spencer in that aspect of very A-type almost,
Totally, totally.
like education wise, because
Right.
everything else, I am such a chill person. But when
Yeah,
it came to my studies, schoolwork, and things like that, very A-type in that aspect. Um, so I don't know. I would say I'm a mixture of Spencer and Emily.
okay. Yeah,
Your chill side, and life in general, things come
yeah.
your way and you could be the life of the party. But there's certain things that I'll very much like Spencer, planned A-type.
Totally, totally. I could see that for sure. I was gonna say maybe like Spencer and Hannah because you're a lot of fun and
Okay.
Hannah's super chill, but
I
I
could see
see
that, yes.
Emily too. Emily was a little bit of like kind of like a space head, I think, in my opinion. She had her moments that were like awesome, but I think Hannah was a little more chill. So, okay.
I am definitely more on the chill side, I will
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Fun. Okay, so in Hunger Games,
All right.
um, who would you associate yourself more like Katniss, Primrose, or Peeta?
Mm. I think out of the three, Primrose.
Okay.
Out of the three, because even though Katniss, I don't know. I guess when you're looking at me as the main character in my life, I guess I would be Katniss,
Okay.
right? But I think she's a very selfish person, and I am very much not. Like I'm very much
Mm,
more PETA side of the spectrum when it comes to
yeah.
that. Um, so maybe I'm PETA. I'm like PETA.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. In Twilight. Okay.
Okay.
So
Oh gosh,
team
throwback. Okay.
team Jacob or team Edward?
Team Edward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I felt for Jacob, man. Like
Everyone
what you
felt
do
for
with
Jacob.
every felt for Jacob. Yeah, I know. But definitely now as an adult, I'm like, problematic. you
Yeah.
know?
Bipolar. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But when I was younger, I was like, oh, like that broody,
Yeah.
melodramatic,
Yeah.
vibe. I was like, oh yeah, that's where it's at.
He's like a jockey e-boy, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, very much that. And however old I was, I guess, was I still in high school?
You were probably like 18 when it came out, yeah? You're like,
Somewhere around there.
you're like 4 years older than me. I'm 27.
You're 27. I just turned 31. So yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
about your senior year, because it came out
Mm-hmm.
around, yeah, I think so. So,
Yeah,
okay.
so yeah. Yeah, definitely into that. Yeah, emotional e-boy. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Yep.
So, okay, my next question for you. You start a new job. What's your number one goal in your job other than like obviously learn your position and do a good job, but like social wise? You establish
That was what I was gonna
boundaries. Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
I check out the vibe.
Mm,
I that's I know how to read a room, so that's me checking out the vibe. I can pretty much tell if there's any friction, if there's anything going on in the room, without talking to people. And then, of course, I like to know the people I'm working with,
yeah,
getting to know them. I'm very much that type of social butterfly
yeah,
that as much I like putting people at ease and having them feel comfortable because I think that in turn, I'm going to then feel at ease and comfortable once
yeah.
I know what their boundaries are,
Mm.
what the vibe is, pretty
Totally,
much.
totally. I feel like you're very empathetic in that way. Like you can kind of
Mhm.
create your vibe, create an atmosphere almost by your
Mhm.
personality. Yeah, for sure. Well,
I think
awesome.
I like people to be comfortable wherever they're at, but when you're meeting someone new, that doesn't always necessarily you don't feel necessarily safe to be or to show 100% of who you are.
Totally, totally. It's like a dance. Yeah.
Hmm.
It takes a while for sure. For what I would do as soon as I got and start a new job, I just shut up and just like figure out who I don't like.
I'm avoiding you for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, stay away from that one. She talks too much. She's cool, I guess.
When do they work? Yeah, don't schedule me then.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's unfortunately what I do. That's so funny. Well, I want to tell a quick story, and you can attest to this of how I met you. And then I
All
would
right.
love to hear the story you have to share with us. So I feel like the answer is going to be wrong, but the first time I remember meeting you was when I was going through absolute crap at my little sister's apartment, and you and my little sister were going to go hang out or something, and I literally just poured out my entire soul to you. And you like took it, sift through all the wallowing, and you're like, this is what's wrong with you, this is what you need to do, this is what she did wrong, and that, and you're just like laying it out, and I'm like, you're so right. And I just I and then ever since, every time you came over, which was often, which I love that, I just felt like I can take whatever you had to say, and you were just going to be genuine, you were going to be real, and you weren't going to just tell me what I want to hear. And I appreciate that so much because I just need that. So that's how I remember meeting you, but I don't know if that's the first time I've met you.
It is not.
Okay.
However, I don't blame you for forgetting because I was reminded of when we first met just like last week.
Oh,
No, when um yesterday.
wow.
I was reminded last week and somebody told me the same story yesterday. So
Wow.
it was when you first moved here from Chicago. You might not remember
Really?
this, but you guys had just moved here, and me and my family, being the social people that we are, we invited you out to Burgers Lake to go swimming. I don't know if you remember that. Out in
Is
Fort Worth.
is it
It's
a
a
lagoon?
yes, yes. That's when we first met. But
Dude.
we're talking throwback. Um,
Yeah, 2006.
so I was
I was 11.
15.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's when we first met. So I remember little Danny.
Oh, dude, little Danny was a piece of shit.
You definitely ignored me.
There you go. Wow. That's so crazy. I do remember the lagoon. I don't remember who was all there, but I remember going into the waters were like a little darker than like what I thought water would should look like.
Right.
It was hot. That's all I remember.
Welcome to Texas.
Well, that's so
Yeah,
fun.
no, but it was when we first met, but really, did we know each other? Of course not. I think the story you just gave is when we really got to know each other.
Totally.
I think
Totally. Well, I just appreciate how our friendship has started, and how I I just I know, like, I don't keep up, I don't see you as often now, obviously, but I know that when we talk, it's just going to be right where we left off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us where you are in the world.
So I live in Arlington. Now I'm being very specific because your family lives in Arlington, but when people ask, I usually just say I'm from Dallas.
Dallas. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you just embraced the snow, but I think it was like 70 today.
Yeah. We've had a miraculous 2 days of beautiful weather.
Wow.
And I'm here for it because it's still February and we still might get a snowstorm like come through.
Great.
That's
Great.
just Texas. You
Totally.
gotta love it.
Well, I'm
Talking
not
about bipolar weather, like
right. Right. I'm not jealous. I don't miss it. Not yet, at least. So,
I
but
am definitely jealous for you. Your beach life,
yeah.
surfing, goodness.
I know. I know. But there's always going to be something special about Texas. I do have to admit that. That's home, you know. It's where my family lives. So,
Yeah.
well, Jess, I would love to hear the story that you have to share today.
Okay, yeah. So I am going to share a little bit about um I think the biggest challenge that I've gone through thus far in my life. Um, I know I've mentioned to you before that I have lupus. And for those that don't know what that is, it's an autoimmune disease, and your body naturally to defend itself will make antibodies. Like let's say you get a cold, a flu, COVID,
Mm.
it makes antibodies to help fight off whatever you have. My body, that signal's a little whack. Like I'm not sick at all, but it still makes these antibodies. And those antibodies in turn, because I am not sick, they attack my own body. And it could be any organ of the body that it attacks.
Wow.
Yeah, in my case, it focuses more on my lungs and my heart, and my joints more than anything.
Mm.
Right now, I'm doing really great, so I will start there. I feel like 19-year-old Jess, which
Wow.
19-year-old Jess did ran off of triple espresso shots from Starbucks and Red Bulls and went to sleep at 3 and woke up by 4 and was up and doing like craziness. I feel like I have energy like that again.
Wow.
But so I got diagnosed when I was 20.
Mm.
I was in the middle of finishing um my I was in college. I was finishing up my training to become a sign language interpreter. And I just suddenly woke up one day not being able to lift my hand, my whole arm. It felt like part of half of my body was paralyzed, but obviously I could move my face, but it was my limb. I could not lift my arm. My leg felt heavy. I was like, am I having a stroke? What's
Right,
happening?
right, right.
Um, go to the yard, get tested. They're like, no, you're fine. Like, they run blood tests. Like, if anything, like your inflammation markers are high, but like everything else looks good. I went to a neurologist to make sure, tested my nerves and all that. And they're like, after a few days, I was better. And they're like, you look fine. We're not sure what really happened.
Wow.
So, me being me and as busy as I was like, okay, glitch. I got a
That-
week off of school. I will say that, like, which was counted towards like a month of like work because
Mm.
we were doing so much. But I was grateful for the week off, even though I had appointments and stuff. But then I was like, I was too busy to worry about it. And, I was 20. I'm like, who knows what that was? Okay, moving on. Later on, started getting a lot more pain, started feeling like a
Mm.
60, 70-year-old,
Oh,
like
wow.
getting up and everything hurt. And I was like, okay, probably should get that checked out again.
Yeah.
Um, and they're like, make an appointment with a rheumatologist. And I was like,
Yeah. What is that?
You know, so they treat anything arthritis, anything to do with joints, inflammation. They also treat um, MS,
Okay.
multiple sclerosis, all of that. They treat all of these um, immune disorders, I guess. And no, yeah, like when she took when she ran my blood test, she's like, "Oh, it is clear as day that you have lupus." She's like, "It takes people years and multiple tests and this and that to actually be diagnosed, with lupus,
Wow.
but it is clear as day because I believe it's 11 different like markers that they have. You have
Okay.
to have at least 3 or 4 of them to be diagnosed with lupus, and I had 8 or 9 or something. It was ridiculous. It was like,
Jeez. Yeah.
no, you have this. Like it's like the whole board lit up. Like,
What was the feeling of like, I mean, at this point, had you already known what lupus is?
no.
All right. So what,
So to tell you, okay,
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
I was out with my friends and I was like, hey, I have an appointment like at 10 a.m.
Mm.
Like, it might have been a little bit later, like an afternoon or whatever. But I was like, can y'all drop me off just for 15 minutes? She's gonna give me some results and I'll just come right back and we'll do what we're doing. They're like, yeah, sure. So the doctor tells me all this news, right? And I'm just like, okay. Get in the car nonchalantly. My friends are like, hey, what happened? And nonchalantly I tell them, oh, I have this thing called lupus. And they're in shock and like about to cry. And I'm just like, oh, I
Oh
should Google
God.
this.
Yikes. Oh my
I,
God.
I was just so nonchalant about it because I was just
Yeah.
like, okay. Because the doctor's thing was like, we'll put you on medication. You'll be on this medication for life. And I was like, oh, well, that's not that bad
Hmm.
in the grand scheme of things. I'm just such a chill person and try
Right.
to view things positively that I'm like, that's not that bad.
Right. Right.
And my friends are over here breaking down crying, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should do a bit more education on my part
When
as
you
to what's
looked
going
it
on.
up, I mean, what was that like coming to terms with this? What was that like?
When I looked it up, it was scary. Did I actually come to terms with that? I don't think so, because I would go through waves of feeling better and then, oh, I feel that pain again. Oh, I'm better, for a long time. So it was just like, okay, I mean, I have this illness, this disease. It's chronic, but I'm okay overall. Like, I'm able to do the things I love. Life goes on. Like, in my head, I was like, okay, there's people that are diabetic, they take their insulin and they're okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the there's the dark side of these diseases where they can kill you. They can truly, truly, you're sick. You can be really bad off. I didn't realize that at the time.
Sure. Sure.
Um, that was to come later on. But at the time, it was just like, I'm okay. I'm taking a med every day. And you know what? Life goes on. I'm not the only one that, again, positiveness, right?
Right.
Just that positive outlook. Well, which, to be fair, I think is the reason that I survived the whole ordeal that I went through later on, just how positive a person I am.
Absolutely.
Because things did get really bad. Um, but yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
what
just to
happened
dive in,
after, yeah, what happened after you got the news, you were in your friend's car, like what happens? You have good times, bad times, and then at what point was it you just shared that it got really bad at one point.
right. So I think my biggest symptom that really affected or impacted my life was the fatigue.
Hmm.
Because again, going from Energizer Bunny,
Yeah.
which runs in the family because mom to this day is like that, Energizer Bunny, to needing naps during the day. Like that was really new for me. Like And then it just slowly, progressively got worse. Now I was still living life. I was still traveling and things. My Bible ministry, I ended up moving to Belize for
That's
6 months,
right.
to do my Bible ministry in sign language for the deaf down there. So, I was still doing things, but yes, I was limited. I noticed that I wasn't keeping up with my peers. I would need those naps. I would need to rest. I couldn't do a whole night out like I used to do. We would stay out dancing till Lord knows what time. I couldn't do that no more.
Wow.
Um, or we'd go to the movies at midnight and it would be no problem the next day, and we'd go out to eat after and it'd be no
Yeah.
problem the next day. But yeah, those things felt heavy, so I felt like it added 30 years onto my age, which I was 20, so 50, 60, that kind of energy.
Yeah. Interesting.
um so I come back from Belize. The goal was to come back to the States for 3 months. I came back July, so August, September, October. By November, I would fly back, and stay a whole nother year.
Wow.
Yeah, had everything, planned out. I was like, I'm coming back to the States working because I was already an interpreter at the time. I was like, I'll do as much work as I can, fly back. I was starting to feel aches and pains, but I was like, I'll get my blood work done. I don't think it's a big deal. They were a
Mm.
little bit high. I ignored it. I was like, look, I came with a plan. I only have this much amount of time to make as much money as I can.
I hear
Because
you.
technically, I can't work in Belize. I can't go get a job because I'm on a visa
Yeah.
there. And part of the restrictions was that I couldn't take Belizean jobs. If I worked online, that was no problem. But at the time, I wasn't doing that. So I was like, hey, doing it while I'm in the States. And during that time, I just progressively started getting worse. So what happens is, have you had the flu before?
Yes.
Okay, you know that achy feeling that you get of just
Yeah.
you're tired, you're achy everywhere, your body just feels like you got run over.
Right.
That actually comes from, it's not from the flu itself. You get that feeling because your body is working hard to make antibodies.
Okay.
That's why you feel that, because your body's going into overdrive to protect you.
Mm.
It's doing the protection thing, but I mean, it's fatiguing for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I was feeling. And it was progressively getting worse and worse and worse. So that's
Wow.
my baseline. That flu fatigue that you feel,
Oh,
that was my
geez.
baseline. I just live with it, right? It
Wow.
was just worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? And they're like, um, are you under a lot of stress? I'm like, well, I guess I'm trying to get things done before I leave, and I guess
Right.
I was just very stressed. And the stress kept piling on, I think, because I'm no longer, I'm so tired that I'm not
Mm.
able to do the things that I wanted to do. I
Right.
was like, I'm getting behind on my timeline.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
So this was around July, August, right? Come September, end of September, I was like, I'm not doing great.
Wow.
Should I tell my roommate? My roommate was from Ohio at the time. She was
Okay.
still living in Ohio, but was going to fly down. I was like, I should let her know, like, hey, I don't know if it's severe enough for me to cancel, but I'm not feeling great. Like, and she knew I had lupus. And I was like, I'm keeping an eye on it, but I just kind of want to give you a heads up as to what's going on in my life. She
Right.
was like, oh, yeah, keep me updated. Well, it ended up getting a lot worse.
Wow.
Um, so what happened was eventually my body got so weak that I caught bronchitis.
Oh,
What started with the sinus infection, again, because my body's weak, I get all types of infections.
yeah.
Sinus
You're
infection,
like susceptible to all those things.
right.
Wow. Okay.
Sinus infection became bronchitis. And to put it shortly, I ended up with really, really, really severe pneumonia. Went to
Wow.
the ER twice. They gave me an antibiotic through injection, twice, and sent me home. Come to find out months later, because I'll explain that in a bit. But come to find out months later that the shots that they were giving me were aggravating my lupus. Yeah. So they were sending me home and I was just declining. And when I mean declining,
Jesus.
by the time Thanksgiving, Black Friday came around, I could no longer get up from my seat. I no longer could sleep on my bed. Like I had to sleep on a special orthopedic like couch. I couldn't bathe myself. I was no longer eating.
Did you still
I
have
yeah.
were you, like in your head, what were the thoughts running through your head? Were you like, I'm dying? Were you like, I hate my life? Like what?
I just remember being like, oh yeah, this is bad.
Mm,
But I was just so tired and sleeping all the time that and again, maybe in a positive person, like it'll turn around. Like
wow.
they're giving me what I need. I'm going to the ER, you know.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It's like I'll be fine, and I have a great support system. My parents are like they would give up anything for us, me and my
Wow.
sister, and they were there like, you know, um I am very grateful for that. My friends did not leave my side.
Wow.
Um people just showed up, and
Mm,
that was a blessing because um I didn't realize how many people's lives I had touched,
mm,
but everyone showed up, which, I was like, that's a blessing in itself. Um,
definitely.
so come New Year's, I was, again, I still have this pneumonia that never went away.
Wow.
Okay. January 1st, 2016, I was like, I cannot, I feel like I'm dying. That was the point. Like it had been months and now I'm like, now I feel like
Wow.
I'm dying. I couldn't lay down anymore because I felt like I was drowning because of the pneumonia. Of course, I had to be carried into the car because I couldn't move. By that point, I look I look really healthy now, but I was a skinny thing, little thing.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, things got a lot worse. So it ends up I had pneumonia. So most people know what pneumonia is. It's liquid inside the lungs. But then I had pneumonitis. So another thing is that all our organs are actually in little baggies, right? They're like in uh, they're protected.
Like a membrane.
So like a membrane, yes. So between the membrane and the actual organ, there was liquid and inflammation.
Oh, wow.
So there was liquid inside, and then there was liquid on the outside putting pressure onto my lungs. And my heart, that membrane as well, there was liquid there that was putting pressure on my heart. So my heart wasn't beating well either. Long story short, my organs started failing. Yeah. So no, I was definitely, everybody thought I was going to die.
Wow.
The doctors were like, there's, of course, I'm receiving every medication under the sun, right?
Sure.
And they're like, there's nothing else we can do. We just have to let her body
Holy shit.
fight it off or not. So I was in the ICU for a week and a half. During that time, I got a procedure where they removed the liquid from my heart. During that procedure, which I was awake during, they just put local anesthetic to
Oh
like
my
numb everything.
God. They
Yeah,
cut you
because they usually,
open?
so they put in a tube right through here.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And I was awake, but numbed. The doctor, again, because it's that sac around the heart,
Yeah.
he took out like a liter and a half of liquid or something ridiculous. But not only that, but he rubbed against the heart. I don't know if you know, the heart has electrical charge coming
And it's a
through it.
metal
So
rod.
I think it was plastic. It was
Okay.
something else. I
Okay.
don't know, but
Okay.
it messed with my heart's rhythm. So from then on, my heart went into I don't know what the medical term would be for that, but it went into shock. And to protect itself, it started just beating really slowly. So a normal person's heart rate can be anywhere from like I'd say average 70 beats per minute to 100, and obviously it gets higher if you're working out and stuff. Mine was anywhere between like 28 to 32.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The good thing I wasn't running marathons. I was laying in bed. So, but no, that was during that procedure, was the first time in my life I'd ever suffered a panic attack.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And
Was
I just
that
remember that was during the procedure that I
that
was
was
awake at.
induced? Was it induced by that rubbing
Mm-hmm.
and you felt
Yes.
your heart and you kind of like saw
Yeah.
the thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I heard everyone around me panic, and the
Oh,
nurses just laid a towel over my eyes and told me it's gonna be okay.
that's what you do to dead people. You put the sheet over there.
Ah! No, yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
okay. And they're like, shit.
To say the least, I still have PTSD.
Sure.
Legit.
Sure.
In addition to that, so they kept trying to, this was post that procedure, they kept trying to give me medicine to bring my heart rate up, but my body was rejecting it, and those medications were actually leading me to cardiac arrest, to my heart stopping and them having to like revive me.
Yeah.
And my heart was like, stop, leave me alone. And it was at that point that I was like, okay. So it's very, very clear that this was the point where I was very conscious of the fact that I could die at any moment. But I was like, you know what? I've done a lot with my life. If I gotta go, I'm good. And I remember in that moment, I saw my mom's face, like a mess, because the nurses are coming in. They're about to like try to shock me and stuff. And I was like, that's gonna suck. Like that's the only reason I wouldn't want to leave. Like I'm not ready for that. Like the pain that my family would go through and things.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I know me myself, I was very content with everything I had done thus far.
How old are you
Um,
at this point?
at this point, I was 26.
Wow. My age,
26.
27.
I was
Yeah.
26.
Wow. Wow.
I was like, I've done a lot. I've made a lot of connections with people. I've traveled. I've given of myself. I've given to my ministry. I could honestly say at that point, like I had no regrets with, things happen for a reason. At that point, I was like, I'm okay. Like,
Wow. That's amazing
you know,
to get to that
um,
point where you're like accepting, and not like upset or angry, like it just shows where
mhm.
your heart is.
Yeah. And not to say I didn't mess up,
Sure.
there are things, you're 26, like, come on. But I was at peace with everything.
Wow.
I was like, I believe in a resurrection. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. And even if I didn't believe in that, I would have been content with the life I've outlived
Wow.
thus far, you know. But I do have that hope. So there was that.
Yeah.
Um, so ends up I did not die,
There you go.
obviously.
No, you're not. No, you didn't.
I did not. However, the recovery was very, very, very long.
Mm,
So remember all the things I couldn't do. I mean, I had to, I needed physical therapy. I had to learn how to eat, how to burp. It's the weirdest thing to be a 26-year-old and your mom's burping you, you know.
sure.
Um, I had to learn to walk. So once I actually started physical therapy, the first day, the goal that day was to sit up without fainting. Just sit up from the bed without fainting, because I had been lying down for months. They're like, we're trying to get you. And no, I got dizzy. I didn't faint, but I could feel it. Just sitting upright was a
Wow.
struggle. Yeah. The next day it was like, okay, you're sitting upright and we're trying to move your feet off the bed and like dangling from the bed, right? So that I'm like in a position where I was about to stand up, but I didn't stand up. That was the goal for that day. The next day was like, okay, the goal is for you to sit upright, dangle your feet. Now you're going to try to get up without fainting. Got up, got dizzy, sat right back down. So it was an intense thing. Like when I finally got released and was able to come home, I had nurses coming to the house. I had physical therapists coming to the house.
Yeah.
Nobody could see me. That was one other thing. When I was in the hospital, nobody could see me. Only my closest friends were allowed in, and they had to be gowned up, masked.
Sure.
Everybody around me was masked. Um, it was just an intense time, and I think I obviously wasn't working. That was also the emotional toll of everything, hit at over time. I was a very independent person, a very adventurous person. Nobody knew me. Everybody knew me as this person that like, um, I could be the life of the party. Like, hang out with me, we're gonna have a good time. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna make things happen. Like, I'll make connections. And I went from that to like, yeah, I can't leave my house. I can't drive. I can't do
Wow.
all of these things. So that was a lot.
How was, you mentioned that you needed help. I mean, doing very basic, everyday
Mhm.
activity. You mentioned your mom helping you burp. What was it like to your pride, needing to be dependent on people?
Um, in the moment, I think I was just happy to have people there that I love, that love me enough to do that for me.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
as time went on, I became very frustrated with no longer having independence.
Right.
It was very frustrating. Um,
And
and
privacy.
yes, lack of privacy. When you're half dead, you don't care. But when you're coming to, you're like, hold on. Um, I need help going to the bathroom. Excuse me, what? Like, I,
Right.
I can't, like, uh, well, you've lived with your grandma for a time, right? I literally felt like an old lady because I couldn't, we had to, like, even the toilet seat, we had to put on, it was,
Handlebars or no?
yeah, we had handlebars everywhere. Yes, we became a ADA compliant household. We had all the things, but we had like I guess I could call it an extender, but it was like a high seat for the bathroom because I couldn't go all the way down because I wouldn't be able to pick myself back up
Okay.
because I lost because I wasn't eating, so I lost density in all my muscles, including my calf
Wow.
muscles, everything. So I had to work all those muscles back up.
Wow.
Someone would have to help me get off the seat, and if I had an extender, it helped.
Mm,
Um, so just things that a 26-year-old shouldn't have to experience,
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
80 down the road, like,
Sure. Sure.
you know, um, yeah. Um, no, it was tough, but at the same time, like, I'm just happy I wasn't alone because there are people that are alone. I was able to come home and not have to go into a rehabilitation center,
Good.
you know. I had people that were here round the clock that gave my parents breaks, let them go to work, let them
Wow.
kind of like, also have their mental health days because it went from having a very independent daughter that no longer lived with them to their now having a disabled child that they were now caretakers of.
Yep.
Really drastic change.
Definitely.
Of
Definitely.
course, they were happy to have me alive,
They're
but
such good people. I've heard really good things about your parents.
they are the best.
Yeah.
But they had to have time to process it too.
Absolutely.
Um, and I appreciate their open-mindedness through everything because you come from a Latin family where what do you mean um mental health day? What do you mean you're sleeping in? What do you mean like this is flojera? That's just laziness.
Say no more. Yeah. Yeah.
They really had to learn to shift their mindset.
Yeah.
you know of course, nearly seeing your daughter die would is traumatizing, and that
It's
was enough
enough.
for them. I wish um I don't wish that on anybody, really. It's traumatic. So it took maybe almost 2 years to be able to be quote unquote fully independent, because at that point, at the 2 year mark after that, what I then struggled with was severe anxiety and depression, which is just as debilitating. It went from something physical to now
Interesting.
something mental health, related. And that was tough. I was like, okay, so all my lupus is under control. It took that long, but it was. And now my depression is debilitating me. My anxiety is debilitating me.
Mm. Do you think that they one caused the other, or do you think it was
Yes.
just, mm,
95% of, I know for lupus specifically, of people who have lupus uh, do have either depression or anxiety. I mean, it's life changing,
yeah,
it really is. And that you usually see those coupled. And I could say that that's very much the case with a lot of chronic um, illnesses. That it's life changing.
yeah.
You know.
I had a question earlier. So I know you mentioned it took about 2 years for you to get stable, correct?
hmm
What was it like driving a car again by yourself when you got to that point?
So driving a car by myself for the first time did not happen until probably right now it would be 6 years from then. So it was probably 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Not that long. It was like a year before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
I didn't
hmm
realize that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the, yeah. It, I had to medicate myself, definitely.
Sure. Sure.
um, just, uh, no, I could not. It took me so long because, um, so let me back up a little bit. I knew I had depression, right? And my depression was being treated for about a year. So we're talking year three. It was treated for a year. I felt better maybe 3 months in, and then I no longer felt better. Like I felt like I regressed.
Oh,
Well, come to find out that I had anxiety. I didn't realize I had anxiety. So because I really wanted to get back to work, I really wanted to drive, I wanted to do all these things, and I couldn't. And I didn't realize I was having panic attacks every day. Yeah. So
yeah.
once I year four, once we realized, because I was being treated for my depression by my PCP, so my primary care doctor.
Okay.
Um, she is very old school. Um, she is very old school and very
What?
much like my parents. She's an immigrant to this country. And she was like, okay, I understand you've been through all this, so it makes sense that you have depression. But she never really had discussions about me. Like, it was just kind of like, are you good? How's depression? And that was
Wow.
it. No other questions,
Wow.
further from that. So at this point, um, I go to take a psychological evaluation because I wanted to get on disability because I still wasn't working at this point. And I was like, I guess this is how I'm going to be like forever. Like, let me at least get a check,
Right.
because my
Right.
parents are, to support in some way,
And
that's the
medical
benefit that we
stuff
have here. Yeah, like,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So went through that process, and that requires a psych eval. That psychologist, I don't even remember his name. I don't anything, but I will be forever grateful because um he was the one uh that was very much like, so how long have you been depressed? And I was like, I'm not depressed. I'm a positive person. Like, so how long have you felt this depression? Like, he asked me every which way. Um, and I was so rejected of the idea, that I was depressed. I was like, there's no way, I'm such a positive person. Left. I was pissed. I remember getting in the car. I'm like, how dare this man? Like, doesn't
Yeah.
know me. Then my mom's like, but don't you think a little bit? Like, I was like, you too. That was the turning point, I think.
Wow.
So got on depression meds, admitted that, but then I was like, I need more. Started regularly seeing a psychiatrist and going to therapy.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, man, that really, really helped.
Mm,
Um, you know, um, I believe everybody should be in therapy,
absolutely.
and it, I think our minds are so powerful in a great way and in a bad way. We can get into our head with things, and having that um, outside party, validating you as a person and invalidating those thoughts, intrusive thoughts or negative thoughts that you come to believe are real.
Mm,
I think we all need that in our lives, someone to check
definitely.
us.
An unbiased outside perspective,
For sure.
person who went to school and, literally is paying off their student loans for this thing to
Hmm.
like tell you and help navigate you to a position where you're healthy in your mind. Like that is we need, yeah,
We
absolutely. I
need
believe
that.
everyone should be in therapy. Absolutely. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. So yesterday, the friends I went to Austin with, one of them is a childhood. The two of them are childhood friends. He was there at Burgers Lake, and he's the one that reminded me of you guys being there. But
Oh,
anyways,
funny. Okay.
we were having a conversation on the way back, and I was like, I really appreciate the conversations we always have. He's like, no, I appreciate having these conversations with you. But anyways, they remember all of this, and he was asking me a few questions about um, everything, and he's like, you just endured so much that people don't realize, and he was like, I remember we just weren't in touch for a while, and he's like, the last time I saw you was at my brother's graduation, which was it was still during pandemic, um summer of 2021.
Mm,
Yeah,
lost.
sometime in the summer of last year. Summer of last year. He's like, I remember you coming to my brother's graduation, and that's when we like reconnected again, And
Mm,
I'm like, yeah, funny thing. I was like, my that was one of the occasions that I had a lot of anxiety. My dad had to drop me off at the stadium where they were having the graduation. But we were driving to the place, and we were almost there because it's not far from my house. It's maybe like 10 minutes, but we were almost there. And then I start freaking out. My dad's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I was like, I left my emergency like anxiety medication at home.
mm,
And just the thought of not having a safety net freaked the hell out. I was like, oh
sure.
my God. It was my first time being out post me being vaccinated, because during COVID, I didn't leave my house at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a thing, which makes sense. I've almost died before. Like, we're not trying to
Yeah.
get COVID.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
But, once a year and a half down the road, being vaccinated and everything, I was like, you know what? Now for my mental health, I need to start leaving the house. So that was one of the first things that I wanted to do. Freak out. And my dad was very reassuring. He's like, you're going to be fine. My dad is such a calm person, man.
That's where you get it
Just,
from.
yeah, he's just so steady. And he's like, you've come so far. You'll be fine. That was just what I needed to hear. Like, you know, positive, positive thoughts. And I was fine. But I was telling my friend, like, yeah, that was the first time I had actually made it out of my house. And of
Wow.
course, me being a super ambitious person, I picked a university graduation, like,
Crawling with people in Texas.
to go to. And then in my mind too, your sister was gonna be there. I'm like, she's gonna show up. She's gonna show up. She's gonna, she'll be there, and I'll
Yeah.
be fine. I'll be
Yeah.
fine. I'll be fine. I'm not alone. Uh, so again, just this say these things have still affected me thus far, but the past 6 months, 5 months, I really have been doing great. I feel like my old self. It's been a
Good.
long road. I mean, it's over 5 years
Well, yeah.
now, you
Yeah.
know, uh,
Wow.
but feeling great. And now it's a very interesting thing to be in this position because
Sure.
um, I had to grieve the person I was,
Oh, yeah.
literally. I
Sure.
had to grieve. It took me a long time to do that, but I had to grieve the loss of my independence. I had to grieve the loss of this social butterfly party girl, like life of the party person I was. Um, and just to accept that that I was a disabled adult,
Sure. That's
you
a
know,
lot. That's a lot,
that's a
dude.
lot. And now it's like, oh, hold on. So there's a lot of fear that comes with it too,
Oh,
right?
for
Like I feel a
sure.
lot better, but and my therapist has been great about that. Like that's not where you're at right now, you
Right.
know?
Enjoy your
Enjoy
season.
it. Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, so started doing trips again,
That's right.
You
That's right.
mentioned that Austin trip
New York.
around in October, New York. Yeah. Um did a Austin day trip, was able to work today, do a whole training after, very little sleep. So things are looking up. Um
I'm so happy for you,
but
Jess.
if anything, I'll say I am just appreciative to be alive,
Of
you know,
course.
you know, um, even the bad days. At the moment, they might not feel like it, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you're feeling healthy today. I'm glad that you're in a good season. I'm glad you're getting to start traveling more. And I mean, you went to Europe with my sister a couple years
Mhm.
ago,
Mhm.
and it's just I've never heard your full story, and to hear it now for the first time in completion, you're an amazing, empowering woman. Like you are an example of it's all about your attitude. That's what got you through it. Your positivity, your mindset, like it's crazy. I read this book, Man's Search for Meaning, and it's all about the
Mhm.
Holocaust. And it talks about what got people the worst was their attitude. That's how they deteriorated. And it just,
Mhm.
obviously you try to put yourself like, what would I do? Like what's my attitude now, presently, if I was there? And it's like, oh man, like you got to check yourself. But like, it comes so easy and natural for you. And I admire that in you, Jess.
I appreciate it. I yeah, I think that's the reason I survived. Really,
Wow.
really, that positive outlook. My nurses and doctors would be like, "You're never not smiling." Like, and I'm like, "That's just, who I am."
That's you. That's
Yeah.
you. Well, that is so cool. Jess, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I know that it's just whoever decides to hear this today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, whatever, you're an inspiration. You're an inspiration. And I hope that people realize it's all about your attitude. So thank you. I have one last question for you. I sent you this in a text. Even though you've already shared so many little bits of wisdom, I want to ask you, what specific bit of wisdom would you want the world to know?
I think that you can learn something from any situation or any interaction that you go through in life, um, whether it have been a positive situation, a positive interaction, a negative situation, negative interaction. There's always something to learn about the situation itself and about yourself,
Hmm.
right? I think being open minded enough to realize that there's more than just your world. The way that you have framed things, the way seen through your lens, and being open minded enough to learn about these situations and these interactions. I think that's so important, um, to understand the world around us. Um, Another thing is that I always say is to, especially those negative situations, those negative interactions, don't hold a person in that frame of time. Don't hold them to that, because you probably saw them at their worst.
Right.
I would never want someone to think of me like that moment that I'm at my worst, like that's who I am. No, we all have our bad moments, you know.
Right.
To realize that probably is what that was, and there's more to people. Don't hold them in the moment of time or a frame of time. Um, I think that helps to really forgive and let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like,
Mm.
huh.
That's really good. I think forgiveness, I've read so many little quotes on Instagram about forgiveness, whatever, but a lot of them say that it's for you, like when you forgive, it's to free you up, and I think that's so true. And to, remember that you're, oh, I have this thing with this person. It's like, yeah, like have some grace. They could have been at,
Mhm.
like you said, it could have been at their worst. It's like life is so much easier if you just are more graceful, gracious, and
Mhm.
are willing to, yeah, forgive. And so thank you. That's very, very true. I definitely see that as something that you do in your life. You're not just a talker, you walk the talk. You are a you are a manifester of your words.
There we go.
So,
I
well,
hope to continue to be that.
yeah, absolutely. That's the goal. Well, Jess, it's literally been just so good to see you, hear your story. Thank you for sharing your evening with me. Safe travels to you. Happy, healthy life. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Good seeing you, Danny.
Bye.